Flying over Colorado, we can see the red desert. The folded hills have been crushed through the movement of tectonic plates. We will soon fly over the continental divide of North America. This is the lower Rocky Mountains, and as we see from the plane, there are many valleys. There is so much land in North America, but very little is occupied. We can also see here the power of water. The water has carved canyons. The canyons across the United States, although there are very famous canyons, we actually have canyons in many parts. The water comes from the snow. Later we will soon see the great Rocky Mountains. We start to see snow. Snow lasts for many months of the year. Some would say it's the top of a continent. There are a number of places accessible from Denver. You can drive to the highest paved automobile road in North America. The Mount Evans Scenic Byway is 60 miles west of Denver. It is about 9,000 feet above sea level. From the mile-high Denver to the summit of Mount Evans, one of 54 peaks in Colorado that soar to over 14,000 feet. These are sometimes called the 14ers. There are some small towns across in the valleys of the mountains. Although this is early October, it is only the beginning of the autumn. There are already signs that here is a winter paradise. Throughout the mountains, there are also a number of gold mines. The gold rush brought people from all around the world. They gathered money and built towns such as Denver. In the picture, we can now see how the valleys flow down and gather water. The forests on the side of the hills. The bottom of the hill is barren and the top is barren with the snow, but the side has forests. So there's a great number of wild animals, from bears and moose and elk. The Rocky Mountain National Park is an area of 415 square miles. The wilderness area includes 355 miles of hiking trails, 150 lakes, 60 mountains taller than 12,000 feet, and elk, bighorn sheep, and moose. From here we can see the snow and the clouds. The dusting has started for a season which will last for many months. Pikes Peak country has particular rock formations as well. Can we imagine what it was like as pioneers attempting to cross the continental divide of the United States? So much land was to be taken from the Native Americans. It was not empty. The Rocky Mountains also provided a barrier for peoples in the past as well. There are in the mountains famous remains of pueblos and still some Pueblo Indian reservations. From the mountains we can also see some of the dry country. Without water, it becomes a desert. And to the south of Colorado, there are many dry areas, deserted areas. So apparently, although you have snow, you also see this great range of the terrain. We can ask questions about why do people build cities where they do? Why not in other parts? And the combination of factors leads to the clustering of people in cities. We're going to see as we explore the historical museums, the founding of the state capitol, and other buildings in Colorado and Denver as we explore. This plane is still a few more minutes before landing in Denver, but now we're starting to see some signs of people. Through this video, I want to introduce some aspects of life in Colorado. Why do we suddenly have a city of 3 million people? What were the roots of Denver? You can see the scenery has totally changed. Building an economic hub has been quite rapid. Colorado is called the Centennial State because it became the 38th state in 1876, 1st of August. The colors of the flag symbolize different physical features of the state: blue skies, golden sunshine, red soil, and snowy mountains. The state seal shows mountains, mining tools, and symbols of leadership. The state motto, No Sine Numene, means nothing without providence. Below us we can see the city of Denver. We're going to see it from the land as well, but it's really spread out a long way. A land which had bighorn sheep, which is the state animal, a western painted turtle, western tiger salamander, Colorado hairstreak butterfly, lark bunting. These are all famous animals. It's also famous for minerals. Rhodochrosite is a state mineral. It is found in the Sweet Home mine in Park County, Colorado. Aquamarine is a state gemstone, found near the summit of Mount Antero. There are also, in the land which has flown over, many dinosaur fossils, from Stegosaurus to hunters and herbivores. Many of the trees in the forest were blue spruce. This is a state tree, first discovered in Pikes Peak in 1862. Looking out of the window of a plane, we've seen the high-rises at the center of Colorado, how they dominate the city. There are lakes, recreation areas, and a very sprawling and deep metropolis. Colorado has two state songs. The first state song was written in 1896, second 1872. Water is critical, and here we can see in these circles the role of irrigation. Large rotating pipes take the water and spread it out. Traditional farmlands were square. New farmlands here are circular. It's very easy to see here, and you may be able to see the metal pipes. They divided up even the farmland based on this circular design, the power of water to transform. At certain times in history, it's been a dust bowl in great droughts. It's ironic, with the abundance of snow and water, how can we transform a landscape from what is a snowy and apparently wet landscape to agricultural. Flying into Denver Airport, you see many planes. In the same way that it was the hub of the trains, Denver is in the center of the United States. The airport is modern. The train from the airport, Denver Airport, takes about 40 minutes, arrives at Union Station. The train ride for a one-day pass is $10.50. This is Union Station. The Union Railroad. The initial transcontinental railroad from across from west to east coast went through Cheyenne, which is 100 miles away. So citizens of Denver raised money and paid for the construction of a diversion to bring the railroad, because of course realizing the business opportunities. Been snow overnight. It is cold. Terminal bar. Tourist information. Welcome to Denver.
Okay. You buy them from the driver. There are people in windows down there.
Sorry?
FF1 is what it's called.
Flower shop and trucks. It's a really nicely renovated building. No chandeliers. They believe a railroad was the gateway to Denver. This is for people to charge your telephones and sit down. Very friendly for the tourist. Still today, there is a train across the states, California Zephyr, from California to Chicago. Some people can use the train. Hotel. Free Wi-Fi, many facilities that people can use. It's on the east side. Sun. See some of the timeline. From 1881 to 2014, timeline. It was constructed in 1881. 1906, 1920, 1892. Revitalized. Denver's transportation hub. The Rocky Mountains. People of a station. Memorial. This is the center of Denver. Snow. Modern buildings. Streets are numbered. Easy to get around. Halloween is coming. Snow on the top of a building at the side of the hotel station. It's a very symmetrical structure. Some of the trees just about to turn color. Snow is melting in the morning sun. The free mall ride, 16th Street Mall. So, in the west direction, came from Union Station. Bridge, stadium. Many regular buildings. One of the old classic buildings here. Wells Fargo Bank. It's a walkway. Emergency vehicles and buses only. They really didn't like the snow yesterday. Clock Tower Cabaret. It's a classic building. The city is 1 mile high above sea level. From a Pioneer Emporium to Denver's definite landmark. This is display of a clock tower. This is what is left. Classic architecture. Same displays.
Yeah, they stay busy. Yeah. Alright guys, have a great day. See you.
Modelled on St. Mark's Cathedral, Campanile. This is the shop. The club. The artists. Doors, classic. Pioneer days from oxen-drawn wagons. And then the business developed. Into the Civil War. Colorado becomes a state in 1876. 1880s, the silver boom. 1893, silver cash. World War I. in the future. Different events. Go out from the straight doors. Certainly colder outside. Wells Fargo Bank to one side. Central Denver. Bus will keep going. Snow is gradually melting. It's a warm day. Denver is famous for beer as well. 16th Street Mall. So this building is the Denver branch of the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City. It originally was owned by a Silver King, Horace Tabor Grand Opera House in 1881. Over time, the neighborhood fell into decline. In the 1960s, it was known as Skid Row. And then it's home to the Money Museum. So let's see. Main entrance located on Curtis Street. That's Curtis Street there. Federal Reserve. Digital tours inside displays Federal Reserve, mission, decentralized central bank, 12 Federal Reserve banks, monetary policy. The entrance is a free bag of money. Free bags of money.
For over 100 years, we've served Colorado, Wyoming, and Mexico.
So it describes the banking system. Some of the history of the banknotes. Many different banknotes, different times. 25-cent notes. $5 American currency. It's a history. From the first notes. American currency through the history.
You have to look for the serial number.
Different notes. The security thread can be visible under the ultraviolet note. This is the old notes and old money. Backstops here. Children are enjoying. A lot of the money in the car.
Alright guys, let's go!
Here is him.
Okay, come on, let's go! Email. Let's go! Come on guys. Just leave it like that for other people.
Hey,
Hey,
do you want a picture? You tell your husband that, you know.
We got time. Come on there, lay down time. How we did do everything. Minka.
$30 million. That's what it looks like.
Okay, restaurant. Ready, go. Do it. It's ready.
Giving children a sense of financial planning.
No, do this and then you have to pull.
These are $100 notes. That's what 30 million of them looks like. $30 million. Earning income. It's talking about how much money to encourage people. Veterinarian, nurse, firefighter, ski advisor, lawyer gets more money, carpenter, cook, software developer. Trying to think about what's important for people's life.
And Percy strutted out of the store as proud and
So the clock tower, like St. Mark's, very large, very notable. It's a skyline next to the Federal Reserve, or Denver, and Curtis Street and 16th Street North.
Like if I wouldn't have woke up this morning and it would have been like really better.
Some snow dropping from the leaves. It's on top of the branches. 16th Street Mall. Those poor leaves, big leaves, must have been beautiful. Just one full of snow. Tomorrow is again forecast, so I don't know if these begonias are going to survive. Guess they're used to snow. Chandeliers from 1890. This is the Kittredge building. The side is renovated. As we go out, the revolving doors are popular with the cold weather to keep the heat. So this property is in the National Registry of Historic Places. Very solid stone building. It's part of the main mall. People are enjoying the sunshine. Yesterday was snowstorm. Approaching towards the east side of the 16th Street Mall, there is the State Capitol building. Piece of snow. So it's quite a lot of snow. Certainly good in the mountains to have good cars, trucks. Denver Convention Center to the right. So from the west, the 16th century Street Mall. See, the colors are changing here. Modern set of buildings. Denver Energy Center. There's the state capitol. The flowers will have been lovely. Unfortunately, the snow has really taken out most of the flowers at the end of the summer. into the autumn. Civic Center Station underneath the Capitol. Looking back at 16th Street. Crazy driving. The old buildings of Denver and the new. The metro ride. Transit police. These pansies made it through the snow, protected. Still not looking very well, but in a better condition. It's like a mountain lion. It's in the plaza. People enjoying some fresh air. Snow has been gathered. Civic Center Station. State capital of Colorado. Solid gold, 24 karat on top. People can catch the buses and trains. Of course, the main transportation of America is the automobile. Parks. A lot of snow still on these trees. Be prepared if you walk underneath it. This is the State Capitol building. In the US, most states have a Capitol building. The state of Colorado is no exception. Usually a cupola and dome is the standard design. This is the park, city center. So the state capitol, facade, sculptures, the pioneers. Small ironwork here. There's a mixture of leaves, butterflies, birds, salmon. The couple is across the city. Cannon. Well, I guess people are getting fit. There is a marquee here. Welcome to the Colorado State Capitol. There is a law that there should be no buildings taller than the State Capitol to block the view of the Rocky Mountains. So this is a view directly from the state capitol main entrance. Snow has come. Beautiful fir trees. The skyline of Denver is that way. Many different varieties of trees grow here. Looking around the building, you can see large office buildings, streets around the Capitol. Grand entrance is here. So now joining a tour of the State Capitol building. It's 3 stories, the entrance. In fact, there's a basement story as well. There are 3 Indian flags here.
So we are the Centennial State because we gained our statehood in 1876, 100 years after the Declaration of Independence. So the tapestry is named for these little gold flowers you see all over. So when women from the East Coast were moving here during the gold rush, they would carry these little flowers with them, keep them alive with their own personal water supplies, and then plant them outside of their homes when they arrived. So the miners nicknamed them women's gold because you could always tell that a woman was in the house if the flowers were planted outside. The very first lady up top here, this is Chapita. She was the wife of Chief Ore of the Ute tribe. She spoke 3 languages, sang in all 3 languages, and she was very diplomatic. So she worked as sort of a go-between when the Europeans first arrived and represented her tribe along with her husband, Chief Ore, who we'll see when we get up into the dome. My personal favorite here is this lady in the gold dress. Her name is Mary Chase. She was an author and a playwright, born and raised and died here in Denver. And her most famous play was a play called Harvey, which started a 6-foot-tall invisible bunny rabbit, and so that's her and her bunny there. I was a theater kid in high school, so she has this little special place in my heart. And then this very last lady down here, this is Silver Heels. So Silver Heels' real name and date of birth and date of death are all unknown. She's sort of lost in history. But she was known as a dance hall girl, and she was known for the shoes that she wore when she danced with Silver Heels. So when smallpox hit her small town up in the mountains, she was one of the only people who wasn't afflicted with the disease, who stayed behind to take care of those who were. Obviously that meant that eventually she did catch the disease, and it scarred her face up pretty badly, so she lost her dance hall girl beauty. She put a veil over her face and left town and was never seen again. So supposedly you can still see her at the Telluride Cemetery at night if you look, but that's her. So the rest of the women here are all just contributing to Colorado's first 100 years of history, and they're all mentioned in this little pamphlet down here on the right side of the tapestry, so feel free to stop back by on your way back and take a look over.
If you want to take a pamphlet that actually has a list of...
Oh, a list of the people? Oh, good. Thank you. I will do that. That's great. Thank you.
That's Italian marble because we ran out partway through construction. There's a little bit of governor's mansion, but otherwise it's priceless. Let's see, this is all brass, like I said. We have like 3 dedicated custodians who spend all of their days shining this stuff, so thank them for that. And if you look down over, or if you came in from the basement and you notice these holes in the ground, when the building was first built, we heated it with coal, obviously, because it was 1901. Construction lasted from 1886 to 1901. So when it opened, we used coal to heat it. It took about a ton of coal an hour to keep the building heated. And there are miles and miles of tunnels all underneath the city that would be used for donkeys to cart coal all around and drop it off in all the places that would burn it. So supposedly back in the day, senators would use the tunnels to get branch being the governor, second floor the judicial branch, the state Supreme Court, and then the third floor is for the legislature, the House of Representatives, and the Senate. So, per tradition, people from the executive branch are allowed to go up into the House or the Senate without permission, and same the other way around, the Speaker and the President and the Senate aren't allowed to come into the governor's office unless they're invited, and unless they're wearing formal attire. So on John Hickenlooper's last day in office, he wanted to go up to the House of Representatives and thank everyone for their service and say goodbye, but he had taken off his tie earlier in the day and wouldn't let him go in and say goodbye. He had to borrow a tie from a security guard to be able to go say goodbye. So it's still an upheld tradition even today. All of these portraits around us here are previous governors, so they and their families will commission their own portraits and have them come here at the end of their office space. So to give you some perspective on the grandeur there. And when we built the building, Denver's population was only 300,000. I'll show you a photo of what it looks like when we built the building, but it was just a little one-horse town out in the Wild West with this big old building springing up, so it's wild. We've grown into it now. We're one of the fastest growing cities in the state, in the country, so proud of us for that. Let's see. Behind us here, these are all murals by a man named Alan True. They were originally a public works project during the Great Depression, but he didn't finish them until 1940 because funding ran out before he finished them. And a man named Charles Betcher, who was a prominent businessman in Colorado, you find all kinds of things named after him. He came in and funded the rest of it and allowed us to finish. So they're all dedicated to the importance of water in Colorado's history. We are an arid state. We're right where the Great Plains meet the Rocky Mountains. So we dedicated this to that. So we've got some Ute natives doing a water ceremony, some French fur trappers coming down the rivers, Spanish settlers coming up from Mexico. We were part of the Mexican cession during the American-Mexican War. We've got some gold panners here. In 1859, 10 years after the California gold rush, we had our own gold rush here in the state, which is how we got a lot of our population, so we have a little homage to them there. Back here, we've just got agriculture, hydroelectric power, industry, all that good stuff. But the most interesting by far is this very last one. So this is a look into the future from the artist Alan True in 1940. We've got a Golden Gate Bridge type situation. We've got flying planes all over the place. But you'll notice that guy with the gray beard, he's holding an empty water glass upside down. That's supposed to be a warning to the future that we need to preserve our water resources. So that's that. So we're gonna head up to the second floor now.
What's the pink thing that's up there?
Pink thing? Oh, that's there's a spiral staircase that leads up there. So there's the inner dome, and then an outer station right after this here. It's open nights and weekends, open to women in people's color, which was progressive at the time. And it was, just sort of a trade school. She's one of the only people in the building who have the same glass window, who is not above stuff I heard. And we're gonna head around the back of her now and just looking for our old Supreme Court picture.
This is the second floor now. This second floor is for the court.
Okay, so this is our old Supreme Court chambers. We used it for our 7 Supreme Court members from about 1901 into 1970s when they built their own building across the street. Just because they're a little crowded in here, a lot of echoing, a lot of commotion during sessions. But it's still used for committee meetings and hearings and stuff like that. Some schools get to go in there for mock trials, for meetings. That chandelier you see is a 2,000-pound brass chandelier. We'll see. So we're gonna head up to the third floor now. Another 38 steps. Again, the elevator back in this corner. And tell me that.
Okay, cool. It's really pretty. Oh, here's something what used to be.
So this is
The General Assembly. That's Supreme Court building. Used.
Why they raise them?
Because people are taller now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that.
Right, next another 100 years, yeah, 4 more. They do electronic voting here, so obviously those little electronic voting boxes are new too. And obviously the filing cabinets are non-original, those used to be spittoons. They were 162 spittoons in the building when it first opened. We've got an original up in the attic. You can go up there. Any questions about the legislative process or the room itself? Which way do we go? This is west. A little bit smaller, it's only 1,700 pounds, but it's the same as in the Senate.
So, do they play piano regularly?
I don't know. I've never seen it here. Come to a couple sessions, never seen it. I'm going to assume it's for the national anthem or something, but never seen it in action.
Senate. That's from the House of Representatives. So the senators are part-time. The Senate gallery.
Decoration is all different, except it's in different colors. So we adopted that from our British ancestors. Over there, the House of Lords is done in red, House of Commons is done in green. So we kept the same color scheme here, and that's the way it is in most of our state houses.
Was it green?
Green before. So green in the other room, like the walls. Yeah. Green walls, red walls. Yeah. This lady over here, this is Virginia Neal Blue. She was the first woman elected to a statewide position. She was state treasurer in 1966. And this lady on the other side here, this is Ruth Stockton. She was the longest serving senator in the state of Colorado, so she served for 24 years. She's the reason we have term limits now. She was more powerful than the governor by the time she left. Obviously very well liked. She was reelected over and over again. But we set term limits and we kicked her out, so she gets the stained glass window. This guy down here, this is David Moffett, one of the other non-politicians who had the stained glass window. He was an engineer, and in, I believe, the 1880s or 90s, we had an economic depression due to the price of silver dropping. So he came along and helped us build the Moffett Tunnel so that we could connect the railroads from Colorado to the West Coast, and help boost our economy a little bit. So that's him.
Are the state house all done with the same?
No, they were added at different times. Some of them.
Mr. Gas.
Recycle bins. And his wife saw the Rocky Mountains and said, no, thank you, we're not going to do that, so we ended up staying in Denver. He bought 100 acres of land for $1.25 an acre under the Homestead Act.
The Senate in the south. Under the rotunda. Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Madison. Sorry. This is a gallery of presidents of the United States of America. President's Gallery in the Rotunda. History of presidents and Lincoln. Johnson, Mrs. Grant, Robert Hayes, James. Oh, sorry.
Self-guided museum, so we'll all go up into the dome together. You're free to come down whenever you're ready and then spend some time down here. But I do like to point out this photo here before we head up. This was what Denver looked like when we built the building. We're standing in this dirt patch here. So, this capital in that city, I can't imagine. So I will take your badges on our way up, and like I said, feel free to come down because make sure that the door is closed behind you and don't let anyone else come up and go down.
Mr. Brown's attic. Colorado's treasure building. So Colorado looked like that. Teepees. So, teas, shans, parapalas.
And he went and built his own stuff there.
He did the Brown Palace.
Yes, the way.
Construction.
It's kind of cool up here.
1890, the dedication of the state capitol building. That's what it looked like in the past. Sherman Street. It's vertically through the center of a photograph. So that is the looking towards the north. Some more pictures of Denver.
What is that? It's the dome, so it's 360 views of the city. It's pretty cool, but... Oh, yeah, that's okay. Is there
This is an explanation of the pictures. Kit Carson, Nathaniel Hill.
Put it this on later? Why do they need to have this?
I think it was later, yeah. I had to add some secret papers.
Sound images. Successful trader. Pony Express. Benjamin Eaton. Irrigation and agriculture. Jim Baker. Jim Baker is a pioneer and fur trader in Colorado. General Harold Hughes. President of the Denver Pacific Railway. Richard Buckingham. Colorado School for the Deaf and Blind and Denver Medical Association. Minister. You can see more. Chief of the Unkapa tribe of the Nation. An effort to preserve Utah land in the San Juan region, he negotiated treaties that later broken when the U.S. government forced the tribe to relocate to Utah. Chief Ouray was respected as a leader by both the Utah people and by the American people. More good way to preserve history. General Palmer, it's the railroad builder. Buyers surveying the territories. So Denver looks out over the mountains, Rocky Mountains, just to the south, the east. It's quite hot in the sun. William Goupin, the governor of the territory. James William Denver was the governor of the territory of Kansas, federal commissioner of Indian Affairs. The city of Denver is named in his honor. John Evans was appointed the second governor of the territory. Forced to resign after the Sand Creek massacre. Prominent figure in charity under the United Way. Colorado. Corinthian design.
Ya lo cambié.
Pictures of the museum showing the construction. So the construction of a roof. Behind the scenes.
To determine exactly what the structural condition of the Capitol was. And the newsletter, there were all sorts of
Colorado critters. Show the different issues. Dinosaurs. The electronic voting consoles. 3 branches of government. This is a model.
A study revealed that the cast iron supports holding the
Gold. The gold rush.
Which resembles marble, is the only one of its kind in the world.
So gold was the only material that lasted under Colorado's conditions. So they used gold. Killing process.
Let's go into the tavern. Oops, sorry. You're a tour guide. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's pretty cool. A lot of history here, kids.
That's it.
This has 38 stars on the flag. Colorado is the 38th state and it served until 1890 as a US flag. 4 more states were added. Harrison and McKinley. Following them, Theodore Roosevelt, William Taft, Woodrow Wilson, Warren Harding, Calvin Coolidge, Herbert Hoover, Franklin Roosevelt, Harry Truman, Dwight Eisenhower, John F. Kennedy, Lyndon Johnson, Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford, Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, George Bush, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, Donald Trump. Portraits. The President, Lawrence Williams, artist. I cannot see if it was a gallery. It's very difficult to see. 38th state. So now the 50 stars on the flag, 50 states. Colorado flag. Called the Centennial State because it joined in 1876. The independence is 1776. These are the trees. Red. Cherry, something on the trees. This is the north side, Sherman Street, walking around, coming back to the front of the state capital, Colorado. The street to the west of Sherman is Lincoln. The glistening gold. Gold is a very precious metal, but also can survive this climate, heat and cold. There's no sounds. If you're blind, you'd have to guess from the sound of the traffic. So the Supreme Court has moved out of the legislative building to its own building. Interesting sculptures, interesting architecture. Front of the Capitol. Small memorial. Colonnade. It's the Fridays. Students protest around the world on climate change. Friday the 11th of October, 2019. Let's see if there is actually any action on climate change made in the coming year or years. It's quite an interesting, pioneering picture. That's the history of Colorado. So from this plaza way, the state capitol, here is a collection of museums. Coming back on a Sunday, we find very relaxed atmosphere in the Civic Center park. It's been hot days since the snow. There's almost no snow melted. People are under their umbrellas.
Fuck you recorded, man.
Enjoying this. This is the Civic Center. Civic Center has a classic structure. Sculptures. There's a protest today. State Capitol. These are pioneers of the Wild West. This is the Denver Public Library. Pony on a horse outside. This is next to the central area of the Capitol, outside the library. So this time we're going to go in and explore. More about why there's a horse. This was built in 1995. Sorry. Public library. Right in downtown. Construction. A chair bookcase. It's a very modern art gallery. This is an exhibit in the Denver Public Library, 5th floor, This Land. It's a popular song by Woody Guthrie. Paintings from different series, which includes direct reference to public lands of the United States. These are small sketches, collages. Scenic. If you want to buy it, it's $7,500. Foyer.
Testarossa. Oh, you're doing that.
Sketches. Pictures of nature, autumn colors, different images of nature. Toilets. They have an access policy that everyone is welcome. So in the library we also find some of the homeless people washing themselves in the bathroom. Many sketches. Horses at night. The entrance of the gallery. Very beautiful.
Oh, okay.
Throughout the gallery. Very beautiful wooden design. Pictures of Denver. Catalogs. Displays. Dolls, you can see beautiful paintings. The reading rooms as well. This is Denver Public Library. It's well worth a visit. Of course, free Wi-Fi. Sculptures. Mountain sheep. Different displays. Spinning. Wild West. Outside the library, you can see the Denver City Museum. It's more sheep. A walrus. Yes, it is a walrus. Reading room. Yates Western History Reading Room. You cannot put a fire out. Really good display of space. Vehicle for creativity. Mending. The zoologist. So many strings for samples. Power for telephones. Dime a dozen novels. Buffalo Bill. These are cartoons.
Join us for a Sunday matinee of The Witches, the dark fantasy comedy. Follows an orphaned boy who discovers a witch convention and determines to stop it. Featuring an award-winning performance by Angelica and Hudson, based on the book by Roald Dahl, with a feature effect by Eugene Mason.
This is Thomas Fletcher. This one, Elizabeth Fletcher. Portrait. So the oldest map they had was 1608. Some old catalogues. And a nice collection of paintings. The Wild West. Pioneering days. It's changed a lot. Newspapers, maps, genealogy and history section. These are the old catalogues. in the old style. History of Buffalo Bill. So the 7th floor has Colorado Historic Art, 1850 to 1900. This is 1871, the artist. You can imagine. Altman, Colorado in 1890. Landscape near Colorado Springs. Payrock Mine, Clear Creek Canyon in 1885. Tapestries. It's a lecture series. History lectures, Lakota, America. This is providing public activities. Federal art programs during the Depression, 1930s to 40s, to encourage different artists. Glimpses into America and American culture. Root of the administration. And then Soldier Wolf. Legacy table. The view of the mountains, the snowy mountains of Colorado, the Rocky Mountains, behind the Civic Center. The gathering space. It's a beautiful view. This is the Denver City Art Museum at the window. Looks like the Grand Canyon. So, pictures and paintings. It's an interesting view. Changes angle, should change past. So these are double images. There's a picture of Wapu Village, Hope Village in Arizona, called a legacy room. Had famous people gathering here. This was a meeting of the G8 Denver Summit in June the 20th to 22nd, 1997. So if we follow around the table, they have a position, Prime Ministers of Italy, of Canada, Jacques Chirac in France, Bill Clinton, United States, Boris Yeltsin, Russia, Helmut Kohl from Germany, Ryutaro Hashimoto from Japan, and Fanny Blair from United Kingdom, William Koch, European Council. So these were seated around here, European Union, Italy. So G8 held a meeting here. Going back to the art collection on the 7th floor, we see more paintings on the left-hand side. Abstract art to Colorado in the late 1940s to 1950s. Function room. Buffalo Bill. Contemporary art. Historic photography. This is the center of the public library coming down. Sculpture. Information desk. Really spacious. Really popular place for people to enjoy. Copying facilities. And to exit from Denver City Library. Really pleasant. Out of the City Library. Today the sun is a beautiful reflection of the library, the way that The sun is flying off the museum. City Art Museum. So the art gallery, very modern, probably very well insulated. So a mixture of classic buildings and very modern ones. Museum. The music is from a chair. These are chairs on swings that make music. It's a great idea. Made with love. Take good care of it. Rock, do not jump. Find your harmony and balance. Very nice idea. So this is outside the Civic Center Cultural Complex and Denver Art Museum. Skateboards, rollerblades, and wooden bicycles are prohibited. They have a few roses out. The trees are changing and the snow is gathered. It's a very interesting civic center. So this is one of the side exhibits of the History Museum. Is the Byway and Evans house. This is the carriage house exhibit. This is the other side of the art gallery. This is the center of Denver. Okay, justice. Exhibit. Colorado woman fighting for equity in the workplace. Boots for women. The theme of the exhibit here.
Methodist, and that's where the church was. That's where they got married. So William Evans and Cornelia Evans were married over here while the Byers were still living here. But it was only 3 years later that they moved in with their 2 young children. They had 2 children by that time, John and Josephine. So they moved in with 2 children. Just like I said, just 3 years after getting married right there. And you can imagine having your wedding vows, you just reminded of them. So he was a little bit younger than the Byers. Basically, this house represented victory, kind of a comfortable beginning of their retirement. Because again, they came here in 1858. This house was built in 1883. So this is 25 years later. It's kind of like stability, and it's kind of a nice place to be type of a thing. And so William, his dad's the governor, or was the governor, but the family had some investments, and he was also the head of the tramway company, which was, at the time, among the most sophisticated mass transit systems in the country. It had the trolley cars that would go all the way down to Inglewood and Littleton, down to the south. Basically, where a lot of the new rail goes, right? LA's doing a lot of this too, but at any rate, he was the head of that organization, and They did well, they were a wealthy family, but you know, it was boom and bust, so there would be some shaky financial times, but they were never extravagant, they were not conspicuous consumption. So, you know, this house is not the most exclusive neighborhood in, you know, at the time, but it was an affluent neighborhood. And on the plaster ceiling, this would have been painted onto the plaster ceiling. This would have been originally, when the Byers were here, it would have been gas, because gas lighting would have been the original lighting system. The house was electrified in 1909. So during those other 12 to 24, that all would have been electrified. But this, they would have actually had to use, you know, you would have to come in and kind of turn it on, turn it off, snuff it and light it all, you know, that sort of thing that you would have to do. And again, supporting the local artists, that's Emma Richardson Sherry painted this. This is actually of an Evans child. This is Margaret Evans. And we'll learn a little bit more about her in just a moment. But again, to kind of show that they were always kind of supporting the local community in terms of art. Now, again, when the Byers were here, even though it was kind of a rough and tumble frontier kind of time, it was a growing, more dynamic city, but still kind of rough and tumble. But they did have the conventions of kind of Eastern society as well, because the Victorian society, because you'll note over there is a card, the calling card carrier. And so what would happen is people would come to visit the lady of the house, and they would leave their card to say that they'd stopped by. In the evening then, Mrs. Byers would sit with her maid and they'd go through the cards, and if the people were both somebody she wanted to see and also was, you know, socially acceptable, then she'd send a card saying, you know, please join me for coffee or tea. If on the other hand she didn't want to see them, or they didn't quite measure up, she'd send a card back that said, thanks for stopping by, period. Don't do it again. So anyhow, so this is the parlor here, and now as we move into this room, this is where Margaret, we just mentioned there, kind of comes into play, because Margaret was the middle daughter, and she was a talented pianist and composer, and so she had some friends, two others, they were also named Margaret, so they performed under the name of the Three Margarets. And so what happened is, this room was nothing like it is right now. When the Byers were here, where I'm standing would be the beginning of a staircase up. You would have come in, because this is the front door to the house. The bannock is right there, and the front porch is right there. So you would come in, there would have been a staircase here, you'd have gone straight up. Meanwhile, over here, this staircase wouldn't be here, it'd be pushed back. There'd be a wall through here, a water closet over here, a small bedroom here, and an office here. Because again, going back to that Victorian construct, is that they would have separate bed chambers for husband and wife in those days. But the Evanses never lived like that. William and Cornelia Evans, they had the single bedroom, so they decided to turn this into kind of a music room so that they could kind of showcase Margaret and her friends. So that was how this got turned into the music.
This is a bullet hole from one of the public strikes.
All sorts of kind of real estate and
on the street.
Railroads in particular is where most of their investments were.
In the War magazine.
The issue was that there were a lot of booms and busts that would occur. So, you know, there were times that the family finances were actually pretty precarious.
It's the original 1912 wallpaper.
The church would have been just outside that window over there. This is a half-tester or teaster style bed, kind of Baroque inspired furniture. Fortunate that it didn't need to be burned when they'd have weevil out. Sometimes the wood would have weevil outbreaks and they'd have to, not my bed. But they would. So fortunately none of that happened here. You'll see these are all, this is not original, but they did have a sink, they did have water. What's great is the family photos, because these are, you know, there's a younger William. This was done by Josephine, his daughter, who was a skilled leather engraver and leather artist. This picture was taken up at the family ranch. Again, was the church that they got married was over here, but also it had a chapel. And so what happened was when this church was taken down, I think in the late 50s is when they got rid of it, is that they took the chapel apart brick by brick and reassembled it on the campus of Denver University. It's known as Evans Chapel over there. Which is interesting because the governor, he was the second territorial governor. He was appointed by Abraham Lincoln. He had a background that was a doctor. He was a doctor by training. He had started a sanitarium in Indiana that was probably, among them, it was on a new tack of trying to be more humane to the mentally ill and that sort of thing. And then he started a university you may have heard of. It's in Illinois, part of the Big Ten, Northwestern University. If you've noticed the community where it is, do you know what town it's in? Bingo! So yeah, that's the guy. So he was a very prominent fellow, but what wound up happening is that he didn't serve as territorial governor for 2 years. They have the radiator heat, and it had central heat, but there's also this. And this, I think, is primarily driven by the fact that she may have done some ironing from off of it during the time, because this, again, was the maid's quarter. It consisted primarily of a housekeeper or maid, and then a cook and a driver during those years. And what's interesting is that primarily back then, domestic workers came from Scandinavia. And so they were primarily Swedish or Norwegian or Dane. And they would often, because they would have Sundays off, and so they would often go to the Lutheran, there's a Swedish Lutheran church just around the corner, and they would go there. And so the maids didn't stay very long generally, because they were young women, they'd get married and then they'd leave.
So these were built without carriers' houses? So there was not a carrier's house? Like there was no overlap?
No, well, you see here, there would have been, up there,
This is natural sunlight coming in.
Nobody would have lived there.
Bathroom.
Oh yeah, and that's definitely true throughout this neighborhood as well.
But I don't know if something was built later, maybe they never actually built a carrier's house.
Yeah.
No, this does have a good, that's it right there. And it would have been converted, because if you go to apartments, because we have alleys.
Yeah.
Which is odd.
We used to as well, yeah.
Because there's and that's why you get the carriage houses would be on that kind of inner side of the alley. But anyhow, this is Catherine's room, and this, she was the youngest daughter. She also never marries, but that was more because of tradition. The youngest daughter would be generally, at that age, would help take care of the parents' enormous amount of the historical buildings. But what did survive was the tramway building, which is now known as the Hotel Pietro. So if you're downtown, it's right next to it. It's just on the north side of the Performing Arts Center. Is that building? That's the site where the house where the governor lived. And so then they moved here, and this is actually the piece of furniture that Josephine got her award in, because that's what Josephine did. This is the leather, this is all leather inlaid. There's some pictures there, but she won. And it says something about Paris, Maine, and from the East Coast and seafarers. That is a colonial highboy, so that piece of furniture is actually older than the United States.
Highboy.
There's a bathroom right in there, not too.
Slightly more modern bathroom. This was the house extension.
Evans' sister. So she also moved in with, when the governor passed away, she and Mom moved in. And she was not married, and the reason she wasn't married was, quite frankly, she was too busy, too involved. Again, as we mentioned, the social structures of the day, had she been married, she wouldn't have been able to be as prominent and involved in the arts and different cultural things that she was. So in Margaret's sitting room, but she passed away not too long after, and so Anne took it over. And does anyone note a certain southwestern feel to this room? Especially with the coloring and then the native art. Because what's interesting to note is that Ann Evans was a champion of native arts, not to be considering it tchotchke or, kind of, she thought that it was very serious and worthy art to be studied and to be preserved. And so the weaving and the pottery and the tapestries of that she collected and promoted, they're not in-house. When we talk about how much of it is original, this stuff is the duplicate stuff, because all the really quality original stuff is in the actual museum next door, because she donated it to them. But I do think it's interesting how much kind of effort and championing she did for for native arts, and I think that has some. I don't know if he built that big addition just to take care of his mom and his sister. He got this room out of the deal, so he did all right. This is his man cave that he got. But you also have to consider, because they were also building the new tramway headquarters there, that he would have done a lot of his work here in his house, in his office. And so that is in fact his desk. And he, the typewriter is a model of what they would have had available at the time. But again, you'll see there's a painting of Governor Dad up in the north corner, and then over here is a painting of Anne, his sister, and his mom, and his grandma. So that would have been his mom's, his grandmother on his mom's side, Susan Gray. She's painted there in that kind of fuzzy thing because she wasn't actually sitting for the portrait. She was alive, but she was not sitting for the portrait. Those two were sitting for the portrait. That's why they're clear. This room over here, it got a little bigger, and because you see it's a little uneven on some of the stretches. And then they have the leaded windows. Leaded windows are a very big thing around this time as well in Colorado. And as I mentioned, there was the conservatory. The glass conservatory would have been right here, and there's a window that this was built right into it, the hutch. And then you see this is and I can only imagine the kind of conversations. I can imagine that Ann's and Williams would have different types of friends. And they found the receipt. Anyone want to guess?
How much that china cost?
The full set of china was $770. We think it's probably a 20-piece setting. But that would be
nowadays it's like
15 to 20,000. So it's pricey. And then the kitchen itself. And you can see then the staircase that came from that was just outside the servant quarters.
Yep.
That's right there. So then swing straight on down here in the morning. This is their original coal stove. So, because she said that bread and soup could, they really could only be done on a coal stove. But that's their original one. This is that's their actual ice box, and this is a replica that we can touch and kind of show you how it works. Because what they would do is, then it would melt and drain down into a tray to be disposed of down in the bottom, keeping this side part over here with all the food and perishables. Stick it in there, and then that's that was their actual.
It's the city library. That is the outside of the wooden complex, the 7th floor. Looking to the city centre. The Denver Art Museum. This is the Civic Center Cultural Complex. Blue sky. Today is the 13th of October 2019. So this building here is History Colorado. It's a museum and display of history of Colorado. True story. History, Colorado, 140 years. The bison. It's an area for a picnic. Water supplies for the fire. See the reflection of the building and the bison myself. Sunday is very quiet. Inside the historical museum, the ground floor, you see a very large open space. The entrepreneurial spirit of Colorado. Grown in Colorado.
From the Sears and Roebuck on the train. Lots of things come here on the train, even cars. If you want a car, my dad can fix it for you. Really, my dad can do anything. Well, I gotta get home now. Hope you find a good place to live. Bye.
Welcome to Colorado. General store.
I've been here 7 years. First couple, very good.
Types of things that you could buy in the general store. Houdini's Book of Magic, toy stove, toy trucks, milk bottles.
What'd I tell you? Nice town, huh? And getting nicer. We just put in a new water system. Imagine, pure fresh water pumped right into your home or business. And as we keep growing, well, before you know it, we'll have a library for the literary society, a gazebo for the
Go to school. School books. The yearbook from the school. It's on display. Bags with straps. Line forms on the other side of a car. If you want to get in the car, take a ride in Model T. Good times to hard times. In the Great Depression, the Dust Bowl. Water has always been a challenge in Colorado. As we see later, there are some of the preserved colonial houses open, and there'll be a tour through one of these colonial houses in detail. Woman surrounded by work. 1918, the Spanish flu. Hello there. Hi. Hay bales. It's all about the weather. It's a smell. It's just great. Turn your eggs in. Chickens to grow eggs. Wheat and the war. American farms were critical in World War I. Milking the cow.
Extra. Read all about it.
You're not newspaper for Olivia, you're a newspaper for you.
Children really enjoy this exhibit. Let's go to the second floor. Colorado Stories. This is at the second floor. History of the Pueblo. Chicano identity. Chicano movement in Colorado. Bent's Fort. The most important stop on the Santa Fe Trail between Missouri and Santa Fe. Bison skins, hides, furs, tapestries, art. Trade rifles, flintlock trade rifle, 1812. It's used. The arrow from the Plains Indian. A tomahawk. Sunnyside Mine. To pay for miners.
Here in this bowl in the sky, deep in the San Juan Mountains of southwestern Colorado, lies the essential slice of Colorado history. Today, silver attracts tourists and history buffs, but in the mid-1800s, the rumor of silver and gold in these mountains drew a stampede of miners and prospectors. The town was founded in 1874, and the mines quickly grew up around it. Even today, Silverton is isolated, but back then the difficulties of life here are hard to imagine. Heavy snow in the winter, floods in the spring, when the nearest town is 75 miles away. And the city says,
Okay, come on in.
Let's begin work.
Your shift, boss.
The miner's first job is mucking, clearing out the ore and waste loosened by the blast of yesterday's shift. It's mighty dangerous. You have to watch out for unexploded dynamite sticks and loose rock. Rock falling is one of the main causes of injury in a mine.
Mucking. Can lift the shovel.
Those are the town members. They live here in the mine. Some folks think they're the spirits of miners who died in mining accidents. They play pranks on us sometimes, stealing our lunches or hiding our tools, but mostly they warn us of danger, keep us safe. So, next time...
The mules were used to pull out the muck.
You'll spend most of your time down here drilling. I'm going to show you two types, and they both take lots of strength, skill, and concentration. First, single jacking. We use this 4-pound hammer to drive this drill steel into the face of the rock. After each strike, we rotate the steel a quarter turn to get a new face and a new cutting edge. In In double jacket, 2 miners work together. One of you holds and turns the steel while the other strikes it with an 8-pound hammer. This kind of drilling requires lots of teamwork. One missed swing can crush the hand of the unlucky man holding the steel. Since it's so loud down here, we communicate with hand signals. When the miner holding the steel wants his partner to stop, he puts his hand over the end of the steel. Like I said, it takes concentration.
They also have a smell of dust. Dynamite is here. Bring down the house. Explosives. So mining was critical for Colorado. The gold rush and the silver mines. Pursuit for justice. Student movements. Little glimpses of history. Land rights. Student movements. Farm workers and labor. Explorer barracks.
I don't know how much more of this food I can stand. What was that pile of white stuff they served today?
That was cottage cheese, Mother. It was disgusting. It made a lot of people sick.
They don't understand. The Japanese don't eat much dairy. But at least they didn't serve mayonnaise on the rice today. I just wish that you and your brother would eat with us in the mess hall.
But all my friends eat
This
together.
is from the Japanese
I
internment
don't want
camp.
to be the only one eating with my parents.
Being with your family is the most important thing. You have to remember that.
We play a lot of football. Sometimes against kids from other camps, and sometimes against the high schools around here. A few weeks ago, we were supposed to play the kids at Wiley High School, but the game was canceled. Parents didn't want their kids playing us Japanese. What I really wanted to know was, why these people hate us? We are just the same as they are. And we feel and act and appreciate America, just like they do. But the color of our skin and hair makes quite a difference to them. I hope that in the near future we can get to a better understanding with the parents of the Wiley students and be able to go about engaging in athletic activities without having anyone opposing us because of race or color.
Prisoners in the homeland. The Grenada Relocation Center, Amanchi, had 7,318 people of Japanese ancestry. 2/3 were American citizens. Today, Boomtown.
Trudging uphill and plunging downhill with exhilaration and determination. The first ski races were all about
Lincoln Hills.
In the earliest championships, many racers fell over at the start.
Seeking refuge from racism. African Americans put Lincoln Hill to escape the Ku Klux Klan.
summer resort and national playground for our group in the entire Rocky Mountain region.
African American families began buying land and building cabins at Lincoln Hills in the 1920s. Carpenter and builder William Pitts was one of the first.
This place is my grandfather's cabin that he built in 1926. And I think that was to give us a place for black people to go, you know, because we couldn't go to Estes Park or anything like that.
In the decades that followed,
But we had
some of the onward valiant clansmen.
defines Steamboat Springs to this day.
Ski jump extra.
Hi, Sam. I'm Carl Peters. Welcome to the Homes of Field Ski Jump. People used to call this the fastest jump in the world. Yeah. Do you want to give it a try? Here's what you need to do.
Skiing across Washington was a sensible way to get around in heavy snow. Horses made the job.
So you meant to stay on the skis, getting practice impossible. That was the exploration of the ski jump.
Are you okay? That was awesome.
With exhilaration and determination. The first ski races were all about staying upright. In the earliest championships, many racers fell over at the starting gun. Judges awarded first prize to the skier who followed the
Denver diorama. Denver A to Z. No dear. Some of the symbols of Denver. Devoted sports fans, we saw those before on the way to the stadium. Broncos fans. Pine needles, parts of nature. It's colder in this place as well.
Is there also a train?
Critters, birds.
So beautiful up here. I sometimes forget how lucky we are to be. But you see those great trees?
Western slope. Colorado is dominated by the Rocky Mountains. Dust Bowl was now recovered. There's no tunnel in 1973.
The mountains are getting hotter and drier, and we can see the changes all around us.
Large jackrabbits. They're really large.
There are more people living and visiting here each year, and we're trying to decide how to balance development.
Grasshoppers. Grasshopper bait for killing the grasshoppers to stop them eating the wheat.
this land during the Dust Bowl. Those were
It's a
rough
good
times.
drilling.
There wasn't much water. Drought and wind turned the field fields to dust. A lot of people left, but my father held on.
Mesa Verde.
We grew different crops and began to farm in ways that helped
Pueblo
the soil.
people.
We made better choices, working with me.
Yucca takes many forms, we can see. Sandal 500 to 750. Yucca sandals. Clay pottery.
My ancestors lived in this Mesa Verde region. My ancestors lived in this Mesa Verde region for a very long time. In this dry and thirsty land.
My family farmed this land during the Dust Bowl. Those were rough times for everyone.
I came to the Colorado Mountains to live in a small town where I can ski and ride out my back door.
With more of the archaeological ladles. A ladle from 1150. Clearly water was critical. So it still is, the Mesa Verde culture.
There wasn't much water. Drought and wind turned the field fields.
Mugs from 1180, 1150.
The mountains are getting
Canteens.
drier, and we can see the changes all around us.
Ancestral canteen, 920 to 1060. They're very distinctive pottery and very beautiful patterns.
We made better choices, working with me.
Canteens from around 1150.
Folks here are talking about the choices
1100 canteens. Ladles. Always connected to water. It's very critical. This is going to the fourth floor from the second floor. Beer here. What's your story? It's a very large historical museum. Many beers for drinking. What's your story? Brewing the New West. Saloon. Sound of clinking glasses. Prohibition from 1916 to 1933. Home brewing in dry times.
How many beers?
brewed with pure Rocky Mountain spring water.
I'm going to be talking to you about one beer that claims to have a difference for taste. Now, before you tune me out,
Denver
I'll tell you
beer.
how this brewer approached it. Put me on a plane. They flew me out here and they showed point by point, difference after difference, and what I'm going to be saying is true. Now, if that weren't the case, I wouldn't be here. But they showed me that every step they take, everything they do is designed to give you a beer that's got a difference for taste. A beer that's a little less heavy, never bitter, with all the spirit of a great beer. Story starts.
Home-bringing leads to craft beer.
The only place they make a beer back here. Only Colorado.
I used to have homebrew was also common when I was growing up in New Zealand. Grew out of a prohibition. Craft beers. Chicago. Chicago culture. Going to the next exhibit, written on land, the 4th floor. Outside, looking to the south, it's a sunny day in Denver. 2 voices. Speak. It's a drum. Early 1900s. Hunting. Collecting water. Survival here. Same as required today. How to tan a deer hide. Science, uses of plants, ice grass, and paddle. So each has a use, science note, use. It's interactive, very good mathematics. Patterns in the beadwork, building the shelter. The San Luis Valley was important for trade. Invasion of the homelands. More about treaties and events. Chief Ore and Chipata. Quite a good and rich display. Contemporary creativity. Pictures from the state of Colorado. Zoom in. It's been a very brief but very interesting tour in History, Colorado. It's a good museum. Adult admission is $14. And there's a map of Colorado underground, which you didn't see from the top. Counterterrorism Cell Education Learning Lab. What can you do? The view of the building is impressive, as long as it points. It's on 12th Ave. The museum is in a reconstructed area. Still a lot of empty land. We're in a transition from older style apartment buildings. There's a river, a cycle path next to the river as an alternative to these cars. Cesar Chavez Memorial Building. The snow is melted. It's going to be another sunny and hot day later today and the next few days. This is a real contrast, the architecture. Parts of Denver and the south side. 13th Avenue. Snow, the ice. The dog is holding a sign. There's a lot of people asking for money in the city, sitting on street corners. City Mule. Certainly a flat city with cycle paths as little as 20 cents a day. It's a really bicycle. Certainly cheaper than buying a bike and keeping it looking quite clean. 14th Street now. These cars, high speed. This is on the south side of the city center. So the convention center is in the south of the city center. This is Denver. Trying to attract many people for business conventions and international gatherings. Looks very pretty. You can just imagine what happens with the snow. But a lot of people come for skiing in the Rocky Mountains. Plenty of wide spaces in America. Wide avenues. Some flowers ready for the winter. They didn't die. The sun has not reached. Still snow. High speed train approaching. It's the tram tracks. Come back. Center of Denver. Here we find a tram stop by the campus. Colorado. Solar panel lights. Down there. Murals on the car park. Colfax. This is a stop. Trying solar panels. Mixture. Buildings and areas going south of the city centre now. High school. The suburbs going further south. See residential houses, trees, streets, autumn leaves. Million people live in Denver. 3 million people living together. 1 mile altitude.
This is the Alameda station. You must have a valid ticket, transfer, or pass. Please remember to tap on your smart card or validate your ticket. Next stop, Broadway. And clear. The doors are closing.
Suburban areas, modern, constructed. Many commuters in major cities stay outside, preferring their space, cheaper prices. Not sure if I have friendly cars or not. You can hear this huge noise from the freeway. So wheelchair assist is available. Orchard Station. So there goes the train. And some people park their cars, commuter passes, saves the drive into the city centre. This looks like granite from the Rocky Mountains. This vegetation is more alpine. It's more designed for the climate here. Beautiful blue skies, but a bit chilly. Shuttle buses come in from some of the businesses to save people walking. Park and ride. You can park your tra. Well, it's a very interesting mixture of architecture. So many companies build the industrial estates in this area, in the outskirts, in the suburbs. Trains, as you can see, are very frequent, every 10 or 15 minutes. Several lines operating. This is the metro. This is the Sports Authority station. People are wearing the uniforms of their favorite team players. It's an interesting phenomenon. Good luck. Broncos Stadium. So this is clearly a very popular event. So they're going over there and they're walking to the stadium. The American culture of sports. Somebody missed the bus. It's the rail system map. Broncos Stadium at Mile High.
This is the E line to Union Station. Stand clear. The doors are closing.
Over here is an amusement park. Train system, very convenient. Downtown Denver, the convention center. Many people coming to support their team, the Broncos. car park will be full. To the west of the city centre is the 38th Street and Blake Street station. You can see an old Union Pacific Railroad locomotive. You can hear the sounds of the static electricity. Careful, the train is coming. University of Colorado. Airport trams. 5 minutes. It's the train coming from the airport. Going to Union Station. University of Colorado Airline, RTD. This is the train schedule, Saturday and Sunday. Westbound, eastbound. '28 from Blake Street is here. 40th Central. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stops to the airport. Kind of mobile ticketing, regional fares. The day pass for the airport is $10.50. Construction occurring. Denver Airport. Sun is setting on the Rocky Mountains. So the containers are coming from the cars and going on to the trains. The distance is the Rocky Mountains. Come up close. Railroad sidings. School buses.
Please remember you must have a valid ticket, transfer or pass.
Much of industry relies on the railroad. 40th and Colorado Street. America is built on the railroad. Miles and miles of railroad tracks. Denver is the center. Railroads from Chicago, St. Louis, across the country.
This is the Peoria station. Connections can be made located at the station to the R-Line to Aurora, Centennial and Lone Tree. Be aware, trains approach the station from both directions. Do not cross tracks when warning lights are flashing.
Airport is in the countryside. You can see the plains, the dry countryside. Our water is so critical. Although you can see the Rocky Mountains and snow, it's only around the rivers where the water comes out. That's where we can see where it was a dust bowl in the past. There's no water. Those Rocky Mountains. It just gets dry and dusty. Semi-arid conditions. From the air, as we saw the big crop circles of the irrigation. People come to the airport by the freeway. The airport complex is in the distance. Flat land. Easy to build very straight roads in the United States. So much space. This is a gateway into Denver Airport. The train goes underneath.
This is the Denver Airport Station, our final destination. All passengers, please exit the train and make sure you have all of your...
Three gates. It's an astronaut, Colorado. In the train station, there are three concourses. B-36. Let's see. This is the terminal building. It's B-36. And here is also a tornado shelter. Gates, Los Angeles.